The man responsible for making sure we all eat our breakfast in the morning, the Assistant Director of Olympic Performance Nutrition, Jeremy Ford. That is a mouthful, Jeremy. There we go. This was our third take trying to get this introduction right, but we finally got it. So third time's the charm.
And so a lot of it is getting them to understand, like, even though you made it here in spite of those bad habits, this is a good opportunity to learn, right? And to really grow with your nutrition base to really get that 1% better. Because as we know, you get to our level, the talent gap shrinks, right? Everybody's good. It was like, I want somebody like you who has had experience with basketball, who hasn't just had everything in a perfect world, like you were at a smaller school, so you understand what that looks like. Like, are you interested? To a fault, I used to be a big overthinker, like, okay, I have to do stuff that only makes sense. Like, I have to go somewhere if I have a plan, I have to know exactly what I'm doing, whatever the case may be.
I grew up going to Zesto of West Columbia with my good friends, parents, and grandparents, and to this day, it is the best fried chicken and soft serve I have ever had. Come down and support one of the most classic and most hospitable family-owned restaurants in Columbia. Zesto of West Columbia, serving hamburgers, chicken, and soft serve since 1949. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Coop, the show that celebrates the past and present, sung and unsung legends of USC athletics. I'm your host, Olivia Thompson, and today I am joined by another very special guest, the man responsible for making sure we all eat our breakfast in the morning, the Assistant Director of Olympic Performance Nutrition, Jeremy Ford. That is a mouthful, Jeremy. There we go. This was our third take trying to get this introduction right, but we finally got it. So third time's the charm.
There we go.
Welcome on, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I know the girls have just kind of left for summer. What does this time of year look like for you? Do you have some downtime finally?
Yeah, so actually I don't. Volleyball starts preseason workouts on Sunday. So we are rolling right into volleyball season. They're one of the early fall sports, so they start scrimmaging and playing at the end of August. And then from there we're going. So
man, I forget how early volleyball starts.
Yes.
I mean, it's as soon as school starts.
Yes.
It feels like they're already playing during the summer, but they are always there. So that stinks that you don't get your downtime.
It's okay.
But you get some after the season, I would hope, right? After basketball season?
It's in pieces. Softball runs a little long. And
That's
so
right.
like this past year, they had a really good season. And so they were going late into the spring, early summer. And so it just depends. But I make time. I try to find time, at least get up the road, go to Greenville, Charlotte, do something to break up the time a little bit.
I gotcha. What do you like to do? How do you like to spend your
Just
downtime?
Day trips.
Okay.
Whether it's going on a hike, whether it's just going to a farmer's market in Greenville, just something to get out of Columbia.
I get that. I totally get that. Yeah. Especially like that time of year. It's March. It's not March. Summertime.
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's nice to get up to the mountains, get away from this
just do
heat.
something different. Switch
Absolutely. So I wanted to, before we got too far along in the show, I wanted you to just give our audience a description of what you do and what all your job entails.
Yeah, so with the performance nutrition realm, it's a lot of stuff, right? Some things you're looking at is just simply making sure we have food available for our athletes, but a big component is making sure we're ready to go. A lot of times people forget that nutrition is the gas that powers a car. And so, they work really hard with Molly. They do a lot of stuff on the court. They, do rehab with Craig, but just making sure they're fueling their bodies so that they can do the things they want to do on a high level. And so a lot of that is making sure that we're working around that, making sure that we're building good nutrition habits, good nutrition education, because it's a skill just like anything else.
Absolutely.
And they've got to get reps in, just like any other activity.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think something people don't really think about a whole lot, and this goes for the athletes too, is a lot of these high-level athletes aren't worried about their nutrition when they come into school. Like that's the last thing they're working about. Like it's all their sport. And I mean, that goes for like weightlifting as well. That's something Molly talks about. But with you, I feel like you get a little bit more pushback.
That's a big thing that we deal with. A lot of these athletes have made it to college in spite of their bad habits, right? A lot of them played a lot of travel ball where you're having to get food quickly on the road. You're playing a day full of games off of hot fries and McDonald's. Like you're just doing what you can do.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is getting them to understand, like, even though you made it here in spite of those bad habits, this is a good opportunity to learn, right? And to really grow with your nutrition base to really get that 1% better. Because as we know, you get to our level, the talent gap shrinks, right? Everybody's good.
Yep.
And so for us, it's really big about controlling what we can control. Can't always control how many shots we make. Can't control the outcome of the game. But nutrition, especially at South Carolina, is 99.9% controllable. I mean, we have resources, that you can't even imagine, right? And so for a lot of people, it's getting them to, understand that, yes, you're a very talented athlete and you're able to do a lot of things that most people can't. But, let's take what you do know, what you're good at, and build from there and really, make nutrition your own, right? Individualize it, make it work for your life, your schedule, the stuff that you have to do. And a lot of people, even if it's not their freshman year, their sophomore year, by the time they're seniors, the majority of them finally get it and are able to really take hold of that nutrition and run with it.
Yeah, that must feel really good. I know it's pretty frustrating at first.
I mean, it is rewarding. It's a journey, right? Just like anything else. And again, you got to remember, like, outside of being an athlete, these are 17, 18-year-olds that are coming to us.
Right. This is all they've ever known.
Yeah, life is coming fast, right? You're going from being at home, being in your hometown, to being at a college, right? Being somewhere that's new, obviously getting acclimated with our program, all the expectations of you. As you know, right, there's a lot of ask that people have of you, of your time, your resources, all that stuff. And so for me, I mean, it is frustrating at times, but also it's not, because it's like, this is a journey, right? This is a marathon. And again, it's a skill. And so it's one of those things that we just continue to work at on the good days and the bad days.
Right. So, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's something that me and my class talked about when we first got to USC is how much food is readily available to us. Like, they take such good care of us, whether it's at the Coliseum or at the Doty for away trips, home games. Like, no matter where you are going to have your 3 meals a day.
Right.
And I think that that's something that was hard for us to really get adjusted to, because we've ate pretty good.
Right.
I would say my class did, but we weren't accustomed to eating that much.
Right.
So I think that's like something that we really had to take control of. But what strategies do you use to help influence players to change their behaviors and habits?
I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, you kind of nailed it. All of it's behavior change, right? We're taking them from doing one set of behaviors they've done, the first 18 to 19 years of their life, and then for the next 3 to 4, do something different. And so for me, it's just the realization, or helping them realize, like, not how far off they are, but like the areas of opportunity that they have. So a big one is hydration specifically. And I've really, in the last couple of years, have upped hydration testing and things like that, so people can just really get an idea of what that looks like. Because you talk to somebody and they say, "Oh, Jeremy, all I drink is water," which is true. Like, I don't not believe you. But you're a Division I athlete. You play basketball at a high level. You're constantly moving your body through your workouts, through your sweating, or through your lifts, through all those things, right? And so it's like, a lot of it's just they don't know, right? And so we do these tests and we do these different kind of things for them to actually understand, like, how far they how far away they are from the actual goal. Same thing with eating enough. Body composition testing. So one thing that I'm really proud of it at South Carolina is we have a great partnership with the exercise science department. And so we're able to work with them to do body composition testing and really track muscle mass over time, body fat over time. And that also allows them to understand what they're doing, because a lot of times, we get on a scale and say, okay, I've gained weight or lost weight. But that doesn't always tell the story, especially when we know that sometimes it could be my weight's down because I am not hydrated, or my weight's down because I had a lot to eat, or up, because I had a lot to eat the day before, or whatever the case may be. But that body composition testing also allows for them to see, like, okay, this is a 2-month or 3-month period in between tests, and my muscle has went up because I've done these set of habits. So I'm going to continue to do these set of habits. Or in comparison, my body fat has gone up higher than I want it to because I've done these set of habits. So that could be eating a bunch of fried food, eating out late, eating when you're bored, like all of those things. And so getting them to understand those things through the testing gives them kind of an objective way to say, like, okay, I'm doing something good or I'm not doing something good. And that helps with the behavior change.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely helps you make changes to your behavior when you can see it in front of you like that as test results. Would you say that the bod pod or body composition, is that your favorite piece of technology that you guys use to...
I don't really have a favorite. I think all of them have their place. I think that it's the most consistent, one of the more consistent ones that we have, because, a lot of, our athletes, by the time they're a senior, they've tested probably no less than 20 times. And so we can get a pretty consistent metric across the board. But I don't have a favorite. For me, it's whatever thing we're going to use to change the behavior.
Right.
Because there's always new technology out. And a lot of times we get caught up in information and it's like, okay, what numbers can we get? How can we, calculate this or run this data or whatever? But the reality is we just want stuff that can help them be better athletes. And it doesn't have to be the most expensive thing. It's just the thing that gets them to understand the results.
Right.
So,
and that's different for every athlete too.
Yep.
I mean, everybody comes in with different needs and expectations for themselves. They come with everyone's a different baseline, and they got to go to different places to be the most optimal athlete they can be.
Exactly.
And speaking of stuff that's always changing and different for everybody, I wanted to know what your general stance was on these internet trends and fads, diets that are circulating on the internet, and how do you handle it when a player comes to you wanting to try one of these fads? So
obviously this is the age of information, right? For better or for worse. Things are so accessible to us these days where, if you want the answer to something in some form or fashion, you can find it pretty quickly. Some of that information is very accurate. Some of it is very inaccurate. Some of it is accurate, but not relative to you. Right. And so for me, I always walk the student athlete through that process because, number one, I'm glad that they even care. Right. And we're talking about behavior change and getting them to ultimately buy in. The fact that they even care to watch a TikTok video or see something on Instagram and then bring it to me is massive. Okay. And so instead of, just being like, that's bad, that's wrong, whatever, I like to redirect that energy to a place that serves them and serves a goal that they're trying to accomplish. Right. So usually what happens is they'll say, Jeremy, I saw this on TikTok. And then I say, okay, let's watch it or send it to me or whatever the case may be. And we work through the sentiment of whatever they're trying to get at or, work on. And I say, okay, well, this is why. Number one, I always talk to them, like educate them what they're looking at. And I say, okay, so this is why this person said this or did this. For you, this would apply in whatever ways to get them to understand. And then also in the process of teaching them, providing them reasonable alternatives that can accomplish those goals that they are trying to chase based off of a video or something they saw. And the thing is like, it's going to continue to be that way, right? As everybody has a phone, everybody has access to hit record and say something. And so that's why I like to take the time to educate them. So then when they're on their own, they can have a level of discernment. They can know like, all right, what I'm seeing isn't probably really accurate, or maybe this is over exaggerated or one of those things. And, they can start to make decisions and have opinions of their own. But I do appreciate when they do come to me with it because, like I said, it does show a level of caring. Yeah, absolutely. And I think something else they need to remind themselves of is that these influencers or even people with knowledge on the internet, they probably aren't 6'3" and a college athlete. These things that they're doing are not going to be suitable for their bodies. Right, like you don't really see a whole lot of people who are representing athletes like that on the internet doing these trends. Yeah, so. and the thing is, too, is I always tell them, like, figure out why you're getting that information. Right. Is it somebody trying to sell you something? Is it somebody trying to persuade you in a drastic way? So you're not allowed to have this, or you can only do this, like if it's a drastic messaging. Is it someone genuinely trying to help you? And then, like, to your point, right, is the person giving this message, is it applicable to me? Is this a 45-year-old mother giving advice to mothers, and I'm an 18-year-old college basketball player? Like, are these pieces of information even relevant to my life at this point or in the foreseeable future? And so it's all of that, but again, they care. And so that's
the first step. Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, this can apply to you, Molly, and Craig, and I want to talk about how you three work together to optimize each of your roles. Yeah,
so I mean, we are a team through and through. Part of it's because our offices and our locations are literally right beside each other.
Right.
But the other part of it is because we all have the same goal in mind, just touching it in different ways. So obviously Molly is doing the strength and conditioning component. Craig is doing the athletic training component. I'm doing the nutrition component. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, all of these things are intertwined, right? Like you need nutrition to be able to have good workouts. You need nutrition to have good outcomes of your recovery. You need strength and conditioning to have good body composition and to, prevent injury. And you need good rehab and good treatment plans to be able to take care of both.
Right.
And so one thing that we definitely do is we keep our communication at a consistent and high level, right? And I'll say one thing I love about us is there's really no egos, right? So like we all give each other the ability to intervene and interject when we feel something is not right. We also are talking and we'll talk in the group chat and just kind of throw out ideas about things that we may see or things that are going on and just keeping each other in the loop. And the other thing too is like, I love to keep them involved because I don't have to be the only person talking about nutrition. I honestly believe that the more people that echo the message, the better, right? So if I'm talking to a player about eating breakfast, right? If I'm having multiple people say, hey, did you eat breakfast? Did you eat breakfast? And that goes Molly, Craig, that goes the coaching staff. It goes whoever, right? If the more people who are invested in care, the more I feel like the athlete recognizes like, hey, this is not just important. A Jeremy thing. This is important, right? And I'm hearing it multiple times. This is clearly something that we care about. So this is something that I need to put a little bit more emphasis on. And so I value that our relationship a lot. This is going on my 5th year working with them. And so I've grown a lot, and they've helped me and supported me in the time that I've been here and just really, be able to make this thing what it is.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah. I feel like breakfast is one of the biggest things that you get pushback about. Yeah. Were they on mandatory breakfast this summer?
So, yeah, we actually are. We've got mandatory breakfast, and then they have to be there even earlier than they had to been in the past to make sure that they eat something.
Okay.
And so eating breakfast or eating something is their ticket in the door. And so if they don't do that before weights or before practice, then the repercussions follow. But we haven't had that issue. So we're in a good place.
That's progress.
We're in a good place.
Yeah, good. So let's just do a little scenario real quick. Let's say you get a freshman or a transfer. It would more likely be a freshman coming in who's underweight and coach is like, y'all, I need y'all to get some muscle on her bones.
Sure.
How would you, Craig, and Molly work together to make that happen? And what is that player's routine going to look like as far as like in the dietitian realm? Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, how we approach that, everyone's different based off of what they're coming in with. Some people just simply don't eat enough. Some people don't like to eat. Some people are very picky. Like there's a bunch of different reasons. And so normally it starts with that, like assessing like, why are we underweight or why are we having this issue to begin with? Then, I'll talk with Craig and Molly and kind of run through the plan. Like, hey, y'all, this is their plan. They're getting a weight gain shake. They're having to get extra calories through snacks. They're having to do whatever the case may be. Can y'all hold them accountable to XYZ things? And so we're all on the same page with that. And then the other thing too is, again, the body composition testing is a big key in that, because when we get those results and we do those tests, we share them amongst each other, and we're able to talk about like, hey, this is, Molly might say, hey, I've noticed they're getting stronger in the weight room. These are some of the things that I'm seeing. And then we're seeing it reflect on that body composition testing. Or Craig may say, hey, like, I noticed that they might be a little injury prone, and we do like another one of our tests that's looking at bone density. We can look and say, okay, maybe they might be a little funny there. You were one of those.
Man, we got to do that test over again. I swear.
You had the worst one.
I had like bones, hollow bones.
Yeah,
I swear I don't.
You had the worst one.
I
but it's
swear
fine.
I don't.
It's fine.
I've never gotten hurt in my life.
The numbers don't lie.
Knock on wood.
Right. But anyway, so just taking that approach to where everybody plays a part, but everybody has input for that athlete. But the biggest thing too is making sure that they know what their plan is and they have say so in their plan. And so for me, I always sit them down and like give them opportunities to work it out with me as far as what the execution looks like. Because that's the hard part about nutrition, right? Nutrition is one of those things that you do more times in a week than a lot of other things.
Right.
If you really did the math, 3 meals a day, 7 times a week, that's 21 meal opportunities. That's 21 times to get it right. That's 21 times to get it wrong. And we only offer 10-ish meals or so a week at the Coliseum. So that's 11 that you're having on your own that I'm not even anywhere near you for.
Right.
And so that's why it's very important for me that they have a say-so in their plan and they understand what their goal is, how we're going to measure it, what we're checking, what things that we're going to do to help them succeed, and then just go for it. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, especially when it comes to weight gain, again, like you said earlier, there's just so much food and so much resources. Yeah. If you don't gain weight at the University of South Carolina, it's a you thing. Like it really is.
Yeah.
Because there's so much. There's so much.
Right.
And so for me, again, it's just empowering them to make decisions on their own behalf, empowering them to understand what it feels like and looks like. And again, like I said, some of them come in and they hit the ground running and they do a really good job. And I've got some who may be juniors or seniors and they just finally catch their stride. Mm-hmm. But they do catch their stride.
Right.
Sooner or later, but hopefully.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I bet that definitely does feel good. Yeah. I mean, then like you have to account in for like people's different metabolisms and like just height differences and stuff like that. Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts in your job, which brings me to my next point about how you work for men's and women's basketball and volleyball. How are each of those, or I should say, how do you have to approach each of those teams differently? You've got men and women, you've got a contact sport with non-contact. So like, just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so ultimately the goal is the same. It's just the road travel is a little different, right?
True, yeah.
And a lot of that depends on just what the expectations are for that program, right? Women's basketball to men's basketball to volleyball, yes, the expectations are to win, right? But how they want their players to handle their business, how they want them to go about their day-to-day, like it kind of varies, right? There are some programs that want to give the players more autonomy, so they don't want to have a lot of mandatory stuff. They want them to take ownership through and through and say either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. They don't want any hand-holding.
That seems a bit risky.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it can be. It can be. There are others that say, look, you need to be on them, and if they aren't doing right, call me, text me.
Coach Staley.
And
through.
We'll get it handled immediately. And so for me, I tend to fit however that needs to be. The biggest thing, though, regardless of the team, I don't want nutrition to feel like it's being forced. Because like I said, nutrition is one of those things that you have to make that decision a lot of times over and over again. And so I don't want you to feel like you have to do nutrition. I want you to get to do nutrition. I want you to get proper nutrition in your body. I want you to be excited about hydrating. I want you to be excited about getting your protein in because you know what it can do for you. Not because I'm telling you how important it is, but you have felt what it has felt like to be hydrated and it felt really good. You know what it feels like to go into practice and have good energy. You know what it feels like to recover, especially later on in the season, and you're still feeling fresh as if you were during the summer. And so for me, it is fitting into the mold of what those programs want it to look like. But ultimately, still on that one-to-one level is getting them to understand and getting them to actually experience and feel what it looks like so that they want to do it on their own and they take pride in their work.
Absolutely. Now, you also work with softball and dance. You've been doing that for a couple years now. How does the routines and like how you have to approach indoor sports and outdoor sports, how is that different? Yeah, so I mean, especially when you're thinking about softball and they're a spring sport, and it's not as hot as the summertime, but it definitely gets hot towards the back end of their season. And so the softball team is incredible. Like, they're so fired up about nutrition, and they're just grateful. That's awesome. They're just grateful to have something, you know what I mean? And so for me, it's really just getting them kind of like the basketballs, getting them to understand their needs based off of their position, based off of how much they're playing, based off of the weather, like whatever the case may be, as far as being able to take care of their hydration, which is a really big thing for outdoor sports. Obviously, eating enough. Softball, their travel schedules and game schedules can be a little weird because, again, you might have long weekend series to where you're in a place back to back to back. You may have games that are double headers, so you have to play, have a short break, and then play again. And so really for them, it's just getting them to understand what that looks like. Now, again, a lot of these athletes have played the sport their entire life, so they understand the basic fundamentals to go out there and play. My job is to support them on how to
do it better using nutrition.
Right.
And so it is emphasizing, again, like I said, the hydration and some of that stuff a little bit more. But at its core, a lot of this stuff is essentially the same.
Right.
It is.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you really can, you feel the difference once you start to get in a groove and understanding what you specifically need. Because a lot of the time, it's trial and error.
Yeah,
you know?
It is.
You come in, you have access to all this stuff, you start taking the fullest advantage of what you have in front of you, but then you're like, oh, I might need to dial it back a little bit.
Right.
So it's just learning.
Yeah,
you're just learning and growing every single year.
Yeah.
So that's why you say, like, by the time they're juniors and seniors, there's a bit of like a routine and people understand their specific needs.
You're right. And nutrition, like you said, is 100% trial and error. And that's why I love like our off-season, preseason months, because this is a time we really drill down, just the learning component of it. And a lot of the trial and error part of it going like kind of leading into season. So that way, when you're in season, you're not worried about, hearing from me. All you are worried about is performing and doing what you do. And then we go through the season, we kind of tweak and do damage control as needed. And then, once off season hits, then we can kind of reflect and say, okay, this is what I really did good this season. This is something I want to continue to work on. This is something new that I haven't done, and I really want to elevate here. And so for me, it is like getting them to just try stuff. So literally like trying to cook, trying to prep your food, trying a new, eating routine. Like, so again, like back to the breakfast thing, like a lot of people come in and they're like, I've always gotten sick when I eat breakfast in the morning. And that's just their blanket, so they will never do it. And so for me, it's like, okay, cool. Like I hear you, I totally understand what you're saying. Let's try something. Let's try something smaller. Let's try changing the timing. Let's try to do something to see what it looks like. There's no harm. You're not going to die. Like, let's just try it. And they try it, and usually good things come from it. And now we've just added something else to the toolbox, something else we can try, something else we can work with.
Gotcha.
So, yep.
Gotcha. Now, as someone who doesn't really eat breakfast, what is your logic behind like a solid 3 meals a day? Because I feel like me personally, if I eat 3 meals a day, I'm not going to feel great.
Right.
Like, just truthfully.
Yeah.
So I'll eat, I don't really know. I guess these days I skip lunch.
Sure.
We'll just say that.
Sure.
It's breakfast and dinner. But I don't really, if I work out in the morning, I don't really eat anything before.
Right.
I work out after.
Okay.
So for your team, for your players, what is your logic behind, like, really encouraging them to eat breakfast before they work out?
Well, we'll use you as an example, right? With what you just said. So if you work out in the morning, what time would you work out?
Let's say like 9
a.m. Okay. What time would you have eaten dinner the night before?
Between like 6:30 and 7:30.
Okay. Let's just go 7, split in the middle.
All
okay?
right, yeah.
7 to 7 is 12 hours. 7 to 9 is another 2 hours. That's 14 hours without having anything. As a former athlete, if you knew you had a big game coming up, would you go 14 hours without eating beforehand? Would you? Would you? I mean, you can say yes or no.
No. Well, okay, but like it's sleep. Like you're not really. It's not like daytime.
Would you go 14 hours without eating before? Yes or no?
Man, probably not.
Okay. Why? Just tell me why.
Because you might feel a little weak.
Okay.
In said game.
What else? What else negative would come from it?
Just having nothing on your bones.
Yeah.
You tell me.
Well, you'd be weak. You'd be tired for sure. Wouldn't be able to focus as well as you could.
But okay, I think the point I'm trying to make is, what if you eat right after weights? Like instead of eating breakfast before weights, you choose to eat after weights, which is like an hour. It's not like an entire basketball game duration.
Yeah. So sure, even if it's basketball game's 2 hours. If you even said an hour, you ate after, so you're just going to only eat post-game meals if you play basketball.
Man, yeah, that would be kind of crazy.
It would be crazy because every meal has a purpose.
True.
Before is preparing us for what we're about to do. Afterwards is helping us recover from what we just did. And so the biggest thing I tell people when they have that kind of mindset or like kind of just are hesitant or don't like to eat those things, breakfast doesn't have to be breakfast in the traditional sense, right? Like we're from the South. Breakfast doesn't have to be grits,
pancakes,
eggs,
French toast,
bacon, all that. It doesn't have to be that.
Right.
When you think about it, something is better than nothing. Further, something in the form of carbs is definitely better than nothing, because we know carbs gives us energy. So when we think about carbs and we think about quick carbs that we would want to have before we do something, it could be as simple as a banana. It could be simple as toast with peanut butter on it. It could be as simple as some granola and yogurt or oatmeal or even cereal, just something light and quick, right? To give us quick energy that our body can easily access to use for our workout. Then after our workout, if we want to then have a true breakfast where we're having carbs, we're having some protein, we're having some fruit, then we can do that. But the idea is that you wouldn't go 14 hours beforehand or 14 hours without eating before a game and then expect to perform well. Could you play the game? Absolutely. Just like you could go through a workout. Absolutely. But there's actually nothing that shows from a research perspective that shows that going into your workouts fasted have any benefits. Even people who are trying to lose weight, like there's no benefit of doing it fasted versus being fed.
Interesting.
So you might as well be fed, because
those internet fads, man, I fell for it. I really did. I used to eat a banana before I would go to the gym, and then I was like, saw all these people talking about how it's good to like work out fasted if you can. So I was like, I'll just do my little honey and whatever, and then go. All right, and the thing I'm back on the banana train now.
Yeah, and the thing is too is, again, like we said, it's trial and error. So you said when I eat, you feel bad. Or when you eat, you feel bad. But that's a very blanket statement, and you haven't tried every single combination of food and time to be able to make that, right? And so the thing is you have to be patient to try it. So like sometimes people, like, again, back to the eating breakfast thing, I feel bad if I eat before I work out. Cool. Have you tried to bump it 30 minutes earlier? Have you tried to change what you eat? Have you tried to do a lot of stuff different? Usually what I get when I give those things, it's, well, actually, I want to sleep in longer. And actually, I don't give myself enough time in the morning because of this. Or actually, I don't buy the things I need to be able to have anything that could be helpful. And like, then we start to actually get to the root cause of the problem. And so I say that to say, give it a try and see how it goes. And again, because it's trial and error, if you do it for a little bit and don't like it, all you have to do is stop. That's it. Just stop. That's it. It's that simple.
Yep, it is that simple, for real. All right, I wanna take a break from the dietitian side of things. I want to take it all the way back to your beginning, where your journey started, and how did your love for sports begin?
Yeah, so I'm from Warner Robins, Georgia, which is a Air Force town in middle Georgia, and I grew up playing football, basketball, all that good stuff. And when I graduated high school, I was a little guy playing football, was not going to go anywhere at my size. And so I went to a school in Savannah, Georgia called Armstrong State University, where I didn't even think about being a dietitian or even cared about nutrition. I initially wanted to go to school to be a physician assistant, physical therapist. I thought about being like Craig at one point. I thought about being like Molly at one point, just kind of, ping-ponging around. And finally, my master's program at that same school, I was doing a lot of sports-related research. It was actually looking at weightlifters, and I was like, wow, like, this is not sports in the sense of like team sports, but it still is a sport because these are people competing. I wonder how I can take this further. And, I just was able to really study sports from a more scientific perspective, really able to like understand what makes people good, not necessarily they're, just knowing that they're good or not. So being able to measure some of the things that they were doing. And I really kind of fell in love with sports and movement and activity going through that pathway for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when was it that you kind of started to take a turn down the registered dietitian route?
Yeah. So around that same time frame when I was getting my master's degree. So this was 2016, 2017, I was going home because I was like, I got to find a job, right? Like I got a bachelor's in human performance. I'm getting a master's in sports medicine with a focus of strength and conditioning. Like these are very like interesting degrees, but like, what do you do with it?
Right.
And so I went home and I was just Googling jobs my first semester of my grad program. And I just kept seeing dietitian pop up. And I never had heard of it before, never heard of it. And I was about 21 at the time. And I was okay, so how do you become a registered dietitian? And it's, you have to do an accredited program and do so many clinical hours and all that good stuff. And at the time, like I said, I was in my program. I was like, I want to go ahead and get a jump on this. And at the time, there was 3 online programs that were doing, accredited nutrition programs. University of Alabama, Kansas State, I believe, and Northern Colorado, I believe. Alabama was the cheapest.
Yeah, sounds like the best out of all of them, too.
That was what I did.
Yeah.
And so essentially I was like dual enrolled, meaning like during the day I was doing my grad school work in Savannah, like in person. And then at night I would go home and do my nutrition classes.
Oh, wow.
And so
cool.
I would just do that.
Busy.
And so, yeah, I was busy and, was holding jobs. I was working at a restaurant, was working at a Nike factory store. Was doing like lab TA stuff.
Dang.
Like it was a lot.
Doing it all, yeah.
And so once I finished my master's program in Savannah, I moved to Tuscaloosa to finish out my Alabama stuff because I had to do clinical rotations and all that good stuff. And there I was finally able to merge the nutrition component and the sports component. UAB up in Birmingham had summer internships to where you could go work with their dietitians. It was mainly football, but I was like, I want to get in. And so I would drive from Tuscaloosa to Birmingham. It's an hour each way every day over the summer to just go get experience. And it was phenomenal. They had such a great program because their dietitians were also getting their PhD. And so they were really big on teaching the interns. They were really big on letting the interns, see things that a lot of other schools and programs wouldn't let you see. And so doing all of that and putting all that all together really got me to a good spot.
That's awesome. Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was a busy time for you, but it's really awesome that you were able to find your passion like that.
Right.
So where was your first job when you left UAB in Alabama?
Yeah. So once I graduated from Alabama in 2020, it was actually James Madison University. It was a fellowship that I completed. It was a full-time fellowship, so I'm going to call it my first full-time job, sponsored by Gatorade. Okay. So I applied for this fellowship. It's called a Sports Nutrition Immersion Program. So Gatorade sponsors this every year where you go to a school, and they change every year for 9 months. And so at that time, they had a lot of big schools, but JMU was like the smallest school on there. They're D1, but they're what you would call a mid-major. And I wanted it because I was like, you know what? I want that small school experience to be able to really learn what it's like to do nutrition at a high level without having all the resources, right? Because you don't have money that you could just throw at things. Like you have to get creative. Like when I was doing nutrition at JMU, I mean, when we had like protein shakes, it was literally a chocolate or vanilla flavor of that. Like that's it, just two things. That was it.
Yeah.
When we wanted to get like snacks for the locker room or whatever, there was a Costco right across the street from the basketball facility. I would take my Honda Civic I had at the time and go to the Costco and load my trunk up with stuff for the locker room. I would take one coach's credit card and the other coach's credit card and just split it down the middle.
That's crazy, yeah.
So it was a lot of just figuring it out. But, I mean, I learned so much there and was really supported by that coaching staff, specifically talking about men's and women's basketball. I had a bunch of other teams, but my primary was men's and women's basketball there, and really was able to grow as a young dietitian in that season that I was there.
Yeah. I actually saw you were there in 2020, right?
Yeah, yep.
Like, how did COVID affect your job responsibilities?
Yeah, so, I mean, like I said, that was my first job I graduated from Alabama May of 2020, so COVID hit March, so like right after that, I passed my exam to become a dietitian in June of 2020, and then I was in Harrisonburg, Virginia in July. So it was just like back to back to back.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of learning because, again, like I said, my only true sports nutrition experience at that time had been like UAB, being under people. And so, yes, I had a mentor, but she was running the football program.
Yeah.
And so I had to just figure it out. And so, again, being at a smaller school like that, we didn't have a athlete-only dining hall. We didn't have, all of these different resources. Like a lot of it was just figuring it out. And so I can recall like there were times where I had to work with their campus dining to just make sure our kids had food. When we were doing the quarantine and the isolation, like going to Costco or going to Walmart and just getting individual grocery bags and driving it to the athletes' houses.
Wow.
You know, going and picking up food and doing all that stuff while also still making sure that we're getting ready for the season that we have to play.
Exactly. Right.
And so it was a lot of adapting. It was a lot of being flexible. It was a lot of just rolling with it. It was a hard year though. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
I bet
that year I was very burnt out because it was one of those things where you want to make sure you take care of everything, but because I was so young in it, I didn't really know how to put my energy where it needed to go, right? I wanted to say yes to this. I want to say yes to this. I didn't want to disappoint this person. And that was also, I would say, probably one of the biggest lessons I learned early on is the power of saying no. Because a lot of times you say yes to a lot of things because you just want to make everybody happy. But sometimes when you say yes too many times, the power of your yes or how good your yeses tend to fall off because you're split. You're split too many ways, right? And so you can't even do as many impactful things as you want to because you've signed up for too many things. And so it was a good experience though. And again, working through COVID, you know, it was hard for everybody doing what we had to do. You know, just like at South Carolina, when you were there during COVID, like we played games with nobody there. And it was weird for them too, because that season, that COVID year, or I guess 2020, 21, they had just opened a brand new basketball facility, like brand new arena, brand new everything. And that first year, they couldn't even have fans come in their arena, which kind of sucks, but like it is what it is. But no, I mean, it was good. It was a good experience. Wouldn't want to do it again, of course. But no, it was good. It was good.
I would say for a first year, having something that difficult is really good for you. I mean, it gives you a reality check, but it sets the bar really high. So you're prepared for anything, really.
You're good for whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So from there, how was it that you ended up at South Carolina? Was that something you were seeking, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so this is actually kind of funny. So I left JMU in March of 2021. And like I mentioned, I was burnt out. I walked away from sports. I actually took a job for 7 months in Atlanta working at a nursing home. Because I was like, you know what? Like, this is too much. I need a break. Like, all these hours, like I just could not do it. And I was at the nursing home, and it was a great time because it was a nursing home that served like an underserved community. So it was most of the people who lived at the nursing home were either homeless or low income. And also because it was on the heels of COVID, people's families couldn't come visit them. So like you spend a lot of time with these people, and it was great. But I kept having an itch, and I'm like, man, like I did all this school because I was in college for 8 years straight.
Wow.
And so I did all this school, you know, I got my master's, I did all this sports nutrition stuff. Like I really wanted to build this, but this isn't fulfilling me. Like I'm serving people, and I'm very grateful to be serving people this way, but this is not fulfilling what I've spent all this time to do. And so I actually was looking at a bunch of jobs, and I was looking at jobs in Atlanta because that's where I was at. Again, I was only there for 7 months, so I mean, I still was paying the lease, like all that stuff, paying rent, all that. And one day, I got a message on LinkedIn from his name is Tony. He was the director of Olympic nutrition at South Carolina when I got there. He reached out to me. He messaged me, said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody to really take hold of the basketball program and like be their priority. I saw you at JMU on your LinkedIn. I saw that you've had experience." And he was like, "I want somebody like you who has had experience with basketball, who hasn't just had everything in a perfect world. Like you were at a smaller school, so you understand what that looks like. Like, are you interested?" I told him no.
What?
I told him no. I said, I'm not so sure. Because, you know, sports is a lot. Like, I want to have a life. It took a lot out of you. It took a lot. Like, I didn't have a great experience. He's like, okay, well, you know, just kind of think about it. And I went home. I thought about it. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just give it a shot. And so I told him, I did some interviews virtually, and then they brought me down to Columbia, and I did on campus. I met Coach Staley. I met Coach Martin, who was the coach at the time. Yep. You know, met all the staff, Ray Tanner, all of those people, and I left and I was like, yeah, this is a good fit. And so I was like, if they offer it, I'll take it. And they offered it, and I took it. So
that's awesome.
I broke my lease in Atlanta, moved to Columbia, and November 1st, 2021 was my first day.
Man, it's not like you're showing up like at the beginning. Like that's in the season. That's in the middle of the season. That was actually,
I don't know, you probably don't even remember this. My first day was y'all's exhibition game.
Whoa.
Like that was y'all's. I don't even remember who y'all were playing.
Man,
but y'all had an exhibition game that day, like my very first day.
That must have been a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at that time we had probably cycled through like 4 temporary nutritionists for the team. So I think when you came in, we were like, here's another one.
Yeah.
He's just going to leave us like the rest.
Yeah.
But you were awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, but showing up at the beginning of a season like that must have been really difficult because you don't know us.
Right.
And we're not in the middle of competition, but we're about to start our season and it's go time.
Yeah, it was quite the acclimation for sure. And again, I go back to Molly and Craig and even Scott and Mark on the men's side. Like, they really kind of took me in and said, hey, like, we got you, like, whatever you need. Another big help was Andy, who was the men's basketball director of operations at the time. He really helped me out substantially as well too, because again, like you said, like, y'all had so many people who had come and gone, and they really wanted somebody just to come in and just love it, right? Just love what they're doing, love the program, and want to be there.
Right.
And I told him, I'm like, look, like, I'm moving from Atlanta for this. I'm breaking, like, I think it was cost like $8,000 for me to break my lease just to come there.
Wow.
And I was like, this is something I'm serious about. And so, because I do remember talking to like the juniors and seniors, like who were there at the time, and it was like, oh, this is our 4th or 5th person, or whatever the case may be. Even your class, because that was my sophomore. That was your no, that was your junior.
Oh, junior. It was junior.
It was your junior. Yeah. So your class. Yeah. A lot of y'all were saying, So I was like, that's fine. I'll take the challenge, and I'll take it what it is. And I mean, I was young at that point. I was 26. I'm 30 now, so I was 26 when I got there. And again, new program. I'm young, relatively close in age to y'all.
Right.
Like, I'm the youngest one in the building. Again, like you said, y'all are already having that season. Y'all are coming off how that last season ended before I got there. Big expectations. But I think the crazy thing is like, even though I had worked with women's basketball, it's kind of, I don't know if it's embarrassing or funny, but I didn't really know y'all. Like, I didn't know, like, Aaliyah Boston. Like, I didn't know that name. I didn't know Zaya Cook. I didn't know that name. I knew of Coach Staley, like, in passing, but like, it wasn't one of those things. So I think that also helped me do my job really well.
I would say so too.
Because I didn't have that pressure of like, oh my gosh, these are these figures. Y'all were just people to me, and y'all still are people to me. And I think that's the thing that gets lost a lot of times, is like, y'all are such well-known and recognized figures, rightfully so, but there's just still, at the end of the day, y'all are just people.
Right.
And so, like, I remember when I interviewed with Coach Staley, like, in her office, Boyer and all of them were in there, and we're just talking, and it really felt like I was just talking to, like, my aunts and my cousins and, like, my people.
Yep.
And so I think that, like, even though it was a lot of, like, just coming in and hitting the ground running, I didn't have that pressure of like, okay, this is South Carolina. I have to come in and do a good job. These are nationally known players and nationally known team, or a nationally known team, and they're expected to do this, and this is like, I didn't know any of that.
Right.
Because again, I was at James Madison. We were mid-major. We weren't even like, we didn't even think about that. Like, we didn't think about that. The games I watched was who we played and who we were going to play. That's it.
Right.
And so, no, I mean, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
When you came in, there was definitely like some, for lack of better words, apprehensiveness, because we had been let down by our nutritionist before.
Yeah.
And like, to be honest, we didn't think that like people were tough enough to like actually get us to do what we needed to do.
Yeah,
So when you came in, like, you totally set the tone. And I think that that's something we really needed, was someone to actually just give us that direction, make us do things. Because we do what we're told
Right.
for the most part. I think that was a pretty mature group that we had back then.
I would say so.
Yeah, so I bet that was nice for you
Yeah,
to
it
come
was.
in. I mean, as late as you did after the season that you had at James Madison, to have a group that's like open to
Right.
listening to
Right.
you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to ask you about your goals for USC. Do you have any long-term goals for yourself at this position?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just continued growth. And I know that's a very vague and like cliche term, but that's what it is, right? Like, I look at where we're at South Carolina, and, you know, sometimes it's very easy to get caught up in the year to year because it just seems like we're just repeating, like rinse and repeat, just doing the same thing. But I look at every year as like a new opportunity to get better at something, right? Like this past June was 5 years of me being a dietitian. 4 of those have been at South Carolina. And so it's like, okay, like I've done a lot of good things, but what could I do better, right? Where are other opportunities that we can elevate you all, right? Give you all better experiences, help you all be better athletes. Where are opportunities where we can elevate what we have, right? Because, you know, we're in the Coliseum. It is an older building. We are, you know, still getting food from the Doty. We still have a lot of the stuff, but how can I take more ownership of it to be to be the best it can be?
Right.
I don't necessarily like chase a title. I don't necessarily chase accolades because, to be quite honest, the work I do is probably more behind the scenes than anybody else, and I'm okay with it being that way. Right? For me, it's just continuing to do things to elevate y'all,
right,
and create an environment of success so that you all can have whatever you want it to be. And at the end of the day, when we graduate or you all graduate, there's no, I wish I would have done whatever the thing is.
Right.
Like, you know that everything that you could have done, you've done, and you feel good about whatever the future holds for you from there.
Absolutely. Because then we have tools that we've learned from you to take with us wherever we go.
Correct.
So it is.
Even though you're not using the tools right now.
I'm going to start using the tools again, I guess. But I'm going to start eating my banana before I work out. How about that?
There you go.
All right. So before we end, we have our final sponsor segment by Zestos of West Columbia. So thank you, Zestos.
Thank you, Zestos.
The first question is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received, or what is a piece of advice you would like to share?
That's a good question. Nothing is too small to care about.
Oh, that's really good.
Yes.
That's a new one.
Nothing is too small to care about. I heard somebody say that not that long ago, another dietitian at another school, in reference to what she tells her athletes. But I think in the bigger scheme of things, I think it's a good way to go about. Because a lot of times, right, we don't do things unless it's like this big thing. Like, we have to I can't do something unless it's this big groundbreaking movement. And sometimes, like, we lose sense of the small things trying to chase the big thing. But the small thing or the big thing can only happen if the small things are in line. Same thing like with what we're talking about with nutrition and games and all that stuff. You don't just show up on game day to play, right, and expect good things to happen. There was a lot of small inputs, a lot of small things. And so even if you think it's insignificant, nothing is too small to care about.
That's awesome. That's really good advice. I like that.
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
The second question I have is, if you weren't a registered dietitian working in college athletics, what would you be doing?
I go through these phases of wanting to like do not weird because nothing, it's what I want to do or what I'm interested in. Not hobbies, but just things. I think it would be fun to either be a pilot or if I don't want to go through all getting like a pilot's license, a flight attendant. Just being able to travel and do stuff. Because like that's one thing that I will say that I really enjoyed about my time living in Atlanta, that 7 months, is like I lived 10, 15 minutes from the Atlanta airport, and you can go everywhere from the Atlanta airport.
Yes, you can.
And so I would just find flights that were super cheap, and I'd be in Maine one day, I'd be in Arizona another day.
That's so dope.
So like being able to do that, but for free, might be a good deal.
For sure. I didn't know you were into traveling like that.
I do. I wasn't, but then it just kind of like, well, why not?
It does just kind of happen to you.
Yeah.
Like it was kickstarted for me really after college, and now I can't stop.
Because it's one of those things, like I used to be very, like my parents are military, so I've always grown up with like structure. And to a fault, I used to be a big overthinker, like, okay, I have to do stuff that only makes sense. Like I have to go somewhere if I have a plan, I have to know exactly what I'm doing, whatever the case may be. But like the flight thing, like I literally would get on like one of those travel apps and just where it shows a cheap flight. And I'd be like, I've never been to Providence, Rhode Island before.
Mm-hmm.
There is $100 flight round trip from here to Providence, Rhode Island. I'm going to go to Providence, Rhode Island.
Right.
Rhode Island. I don't know anybody there. I don't even know what it's about. But I've never been. Just do it and see what happens. And I just started doing that, and I've like loved it.
That's awesome.
So I probably would do one of those two things.
I love that. I need to start doing that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's unfortunately not too many cheap flights out of Columbia.
There's not. But Charlotte has good ones. Mm-hmm. Raleigh has good ones a little further. But also, sneaky good ones is Charleston and Myrtle. They have good flights too. So yeah.
Noted. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That advice probably landed with me.
There you go.
That wasn't even an advice question.
Yeah, there you go.
But thank you, Jeremy. I really appreciate having you on, and I'm excited to see how the season looks this year and the rest of your progression. So
thanks.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.